Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, September 29. I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. If you're watching online at onespotmedia.com, a special welcome to you. Thanks for joining us. At least one medical practitioner is concerned that Jamaica could lose the battle to combat the community spread of the coronavirus. President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Manning, says if tougher measures are not implemented to deal with persons who continue to flout COVID-19 prevention protocols, the hope of flattening the curve will not happen anytime soon. This, he noted, is due to the lack of persons taking the COVID-19 messages seriously. He says recent reports of persons hosting entertainment events are concerning.
We are at a crossroads now. Our numbers up to this point haven't been as bad as some other countries in the region. But once you reach to this stage, if you don't flatten the curve, you lose control of the situation very quickly. The numbers that we see every day would get so great that really we'd just be in a mode that we're having to try and react to it. So we need to take measures now to make sure that people comply with the guidelines. Now, whereas we recognize that you really have to get persons invested in the message. You know, people really need believe about social distancing, wearing the mask, and so on. But you have to reach a point where you say, well, you're going to have sanctions on persons who don't comply. I think that is where we're at now.
And the island now has a total of 101 deaths from COVID-19. 8 new deaths were recorded in the last 24 hours. The latest victims are an 82-year-old female from St. Anne, a 28-year-old female from St. Catherine. 5 males from St. Catherine also died, ages ranging from 59 to 96 years, and a 78-year-old male from Clarendon. Meanwhile, the country's coronavirus case count now stands at 6,408. 238 cases of the coronavirus were recorded yesterday. A breakdown of the ministry's latest figures indicated that St. Catherine, Kingston and St. Andrew, and St. Anne recorded the most new cases. St. Catherine recorded 61 new cases, Kingston and St. Andrew 51, and St. Anne had 26 cases. And as the COVID-19 death toll continues to rise, especially among senior citizens, renewed concerns about seniors in state care facilities. A team from the Health Ministry visited the Vineyard Town Golden Age Home, reviewing the implementation of COVID protocols. Giovanni Dennis has that story.
The Vineyard Town Golden Age Home in Kingston is the largest in the Caribbean. It houses over 400 seniors and more than 150 staff members. With the local death toll from COVID-19 comprising mainly of seniors now past the 100 mark, the Health Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says a renewed focus is necessary.
And if you look at how COVID has impacted this population in other jurisdictions, it is quite significant where COVID enters an institution such as this one. So it's important that the protocols are followed.
Following the tour, Dr. Tufton said he is satisfied with the procedures implemented at the facility to prevent or control any instance of the virus. This includes the usual sanitization stations, mask wearing, workers entering and leaving the facility, and movement restrictions within the facility. The home's managing director, Zonia Foster Forbes, says measures are in place to ensure the safety measures are adhered to.
So it's a weekly thing that we send out reminders. You have to wear your mask, you have to observe the protocols, and we'll continue to do that because we know the vulnerability of the group, the community that we are managing.
It's a demonstration that there's an observance of the protocol, and I want to use the opportunity to encourage the other similar institutions across the country. The response to COVID right now is going to be heavily dependent on all of us playing a role. It's going to be heavily dependent on the protocols that we establish for work, for leisure, for industry of one form or another, and in this instance for a home for the aged. Being observed.
Senior citizens with underlying health conditions make up the majority of the 101 COVID-related deaths so far locally. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, says renovations at the Vineyard Town Golden Age Home are proceeding well. Mayor Williams was also on the tour with Health Ministry officials. He says the renovation is expected to assist hospitals with bed space. Hospitals have complained for years of social cases, that is, persons who are ready to be discharged from hospital but continue to stay because they have nowhere to go. Mr. Williams says the renovation will help that situation.
That we can relocate some of the persons at various hospitals here to free up bed space in the hospital for more critical cases there. So it's part of an alternative arrangement for persons in the hospital but are able to function here.
The Ministry of Health is clamping down on the importation of alcohol-based hand sanitizers that have not been given the requisite approval. A news release from the ministry says there has been a significant increase in the number of entities importing the items without applying to the authorities. It warned that hand sanitizers seen on the market that were not approved by the ministry could be seized. The Ministry of Health says all importers of hand sanitizers must first contact the Standards and Regulation Division so that they can be guided regarding the requirements for importation. It added that shipments which arrive in the island prior to the permit being approved are not guaranteed clearance from the ports and risk being seized and destroyed. A recent Sunday Gleaner probe found that a flood of unapproved hand sanitizers are on shelves for sale to unsuspecting members of the public who could be putting themselves in danger. Attorney at law Peter Champagne says the pieces of legislation which the government is currently using to manage the COVID-19 pandemic is not effective in the fight against the virus. He's therefore urging the government to look at other models such as legislation used in the United Kingdom. While speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program this morning, Mr. Champagne said the Quarantine Act and the Disaster Risk Management Act both need to be revised to properly manage the spread of the respiratory illness.
The Quarantine Act was passed in 1951, and it deals essentially with the control and management of persons on aircraft and ship. It doesn't really contemplate a local situation like a community phase transmission that is now happening. So it is obvious, therefore, that in terms of that legislation, it needs to be revisited.
In addition, he said the Disaster Risk Management Act does not address the issue of attire.
It is true that that legislation gives the Prime Minister wide powers in terms of effecting any measures necessary. But at the same time, in terms of the wording, it is somewhat ambiguous. And it is my view that we need to look at other models, such as in the United Kingdom, where I believe in March of this year, they passed a Coronavirus Act. In Japan, they are looking at similar legislation to deal effectively with the whole issue of the pandemic.
And we don't take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, continuing the news. The Jamaica Police Federation has clapped back at Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck for criticizing the efforts of detectives. In a primetime news story aired on Sunday, the Justice Minister said too many criminals are being acquitted because of the shortcomings of the police. However, Chairman of the Police Federation, Sergeant Patrick Rowe, has dismissed the minister's statement.
If I didn't know better, I would think that he picks on the police a lot, and certainly my colleagues hold that view.
Chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation, Sergeant Patrick Rowe, responding to Justice Minister Delroy Chuck's stinging criticism about detectives. On Saturday, while addressing a launch and webinar of committal proceedings, the Justice Minister asserted that far too many criminals are being acquitted because of insufficient statements collected by the police. But Sergeant Rowe says the statement is not true.
That statement is not supported by the data that is available. Jamaica has certainly one of the highest clear-up rates, certainly in this side of the world, and even in comparison with first world countries, 50% clear-up rates. And certainly the pronouncement of the Director of Public Prosecution, who has been at the prosecution bar for years, has certainly said on numerous occasions that the quality of police statements treatment and police investigation have improved, which has resulted in a number of guilty convictions.
He argues that the minister should be more mindful when making comments publicly about police officers, as such comments influence resistance from citizens. He believes there are more important issues that the minister needs to look at, such as the allowance detectives are paid monthly.
Our detectives who work hours processing crime scene, unearthing evidence, speaking to witnesses, hours of interview, interacting with the criminal justice system to ensure that we get a justiciable outcome when the citizens of this country are violated, are paid $3,900 per month as an incentive for their detective work. This is utterly embarrassing.
In addition, Sergeant Rose says despite their poor working conditions, the detectives have demonstrated competence and commitment.
Our officers do not have proper chairs to sit on. Our officers, detectives, have contacted the Police Federation to assist to buy laptops so that they can write statements when they're at home in support of their case files. They do not have computer. They do not have air-conditioned offices, right? Our CIBs are suffering from a lack of capital investment in training, in infrastructure, in resources for them to properly do their job. And notwithstanding that, they have demonstrated class on all occasions.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
We go down to news on politics. Despite criticisms of no charisma, Mark Golding, who is vying for the top job in the People's National Party, PNP, says he is ready to put in the work to rebuild the party. He says his focus will not be on the past, but building a firm foundation which the party can stand on for years to come. The details in this report.
People's National Party presidential aspirant Mark Golding is seeking to make it clear his bid for the top job is not aimed at continuing the ambitions of Peter Bunting's Rise United campaign. The St. Andrews Southern Member of Parliament was a key supporter of Peter Bunting when he challenged Dr. Peter Phillips for presidency of the PNP last year. Mr. Bunting lost his Manchester Central seat in the September 3 general election. Now, he has not shown any interest in running for president in the upcoming internal elections. Mr. Golding said he was not running as a means to clear the way for Mr. Bunting.
I think that would be a dishonest thing for me to do, and I'm not a dishonest person. I don't think it would be right. It would in fact be terribly wrong for me to put myself forward as some kind of facade for any other individual, and I think that would be immoral, and I would never entertain that. I'm only doing it because I believe that at this time I'm the right person for the task at hand, and I'm willing to make the sacrifice of putting myself forward for leader, and I have embraced that, and I look forward with passion to serving to the best of my ability.
Mr. Golding says the Rise United and One PNP camps should be left in the past.
This is not Rise Part 2. The Rise and One PNP campaigns of last year are over. I don't think we should revive them. I think we should treat them as matters of history of the party, but this is a new era now, and we have to really bring everything together with a common purpose of renewal and rebuilding so that we can become attractive once again to the Jamaican people.
Now, as to the youthful exuberance of his challenger, Lisa Hanna, Mr. Golding is convinced Jamaicans will be able to relate to him once they get to know him.
I was very involved and, in fact, pioneered the legislation, for example, to decriminalize ganja in Jamaica, which has benefited thousands of youths who have had their criminal records expunged, who are no longer subject to arrest and detention and so on. A lot of young people give me ratings for that. I'm into the world of football, which young people love. I'm chairman of Arnett Gardens Football Club. I was very involved in the recent process that has resulted in a complete overhaul of the arrangements of the Premier League. I've been involved in the music industry. I was once a co-owner of a label with a studio. We released 3 albums. I have a lot of aspects to my personality, but when they get to know me, they will, I think, see that I'm somebody who is relatable and who I think young people can feel comfortable with. So I may not be the most hype person in the world, but I think I have some substance to me, and I have some aspects to my personality and my past and my history, which I think will be intriguing and attractive to young people.
Mr. Golding was speaking yesterday on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines with Dion Jackson Miller. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Golding is of the view that senators appointed by Dr. Peter Phillips should resign when he is replaced as president.
I think it's the right thing to do personally in a position where you're appointed, not elected, and the person who appointed you has left the scene, so to speak, and there's somebody else who would normally have those powers. I think the principal thing to do is to offer one's resignation. But I'm not really focusing on that at this time. As I said, I'm prepared to work with them. I want to see how they're performing and so on. And when that time comes, I don't want to make any hasty decisions, because at the end of the day, party unity is what really matters.
The mother of a family in Hatfield, Manchester, that was left homeless after fire destroyed their house is appealing for help, especially for her son and niece who lost all their school supplies in the blaze. Peaches Hyman, one of 7 persons left homeless after fire destroyed their house last week, says she's desperately in need of help.
So I appeal into a fellow citizen of Jamaica who can assist me. Me lose everything: bed, clothes, fridge, TV stand, dresser, everything where household have it. Me lose a lot of things. Money for business. I was supposed to go in the chicken, raise some chicken. Everything got destroyed in the fire.
She says the caretaker for Manchester Northwest had visited and offered some assistance to other victims of the fire, but she is yet to get any help.
He come and he donate $50,000 to one occupant, and they said the Friday they're going to make me get something.
That's not the MP, that's the caretaker.
The caretaker. Said the caretaker said the Friday he's going to make me get something. Up till now, nothing.
Her immediate needs are clothing and food items, but still welcomes any help to rebuild her house.
If anybody can donate something towards the house to help me build a house, I will be grateful, because I have land, so I can get it. We can get a house on it. I have land, so I can build something on it.
In the meantime, she's living with another friend in the community. Anyone who wishes to assist Ms. Hyman may contact her at 876-397-8367. We go on to news overseas. U.S. health experts are strongly urging people to get a flu shot this year to help avoid what could be a so-called twindemic. We have more from the CNN. And we do apologize for the absence of audio on that story. We go on to news in sports. The West Indies tour to New Zealand has been confirmed after Cricket New Zealand released their international schedule for 2020-2021 on Monday. The Windies will be the first men's team to tour New Zealand since the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Caribbean side travels for three 2020 internationals and 2 tests in November. The tour will start on November 27, with the defending T20 World Cup champions facing the Black Caps at Eden Park in Auckland for a match on the lights. The series then moves to the Bay Oval for 2 matches, the first a day match on November 29 and the second on the lights the following day. West Indies will then travel to Hamilton for the first test at Eden Park from December 3 to 7, and then south to Wellington for the second match at the Basin Reserve from December 11 to 15. According to a Cricket West Indies release, the tour is subject to the final COVID-19 medical protocols being approved by the CWI Medical Advisory Committee and regional governments, health and aviation officials. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Please join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the entire team, pleasant viewing.